America presents Worldview Radio with Brannon House.
Welcome. Glad you're with us. We're going to be joined by Trevor Loudon and Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson by video clips, because I think Tucker has clearly revealed what is the MAGA communism. Isn't that what Jason Hinkle talked about? MAGA communism in a positive way. We've been warning about that. And I think now Tucker Carlson has fully exposed himself as a collectivist, as a socialist. I personally think he's promoting America First communism. Isn't it interesting how they have infiltrated the movement? If someone had told you 2 years ago that Tucker Carlson would be promoting what are clearly, I believe, Marxist ideas, you would say that's crazy. But it's not just Marxism, folks. He's now saying things like Sharia, Islamic law. It's more advanced than cities. Cities that have it are more advanced than the cities in the white world. Oh, he's become a full-on mouthpiece for the red-green axis, has he not? We'll get to all that. And where are the Jack Posobics and Benny Hinn's? Benny Johnson, not Benny Hinn. Sorry. That is habit. I say the word Benny, the next word's automatically going to be Hinn because I've said that word a million times. So Benny Johnson. Sorry to insult you, Benny Hinn. Didn't mean to do that. You would think it'd be the other way around, but not so sure when it comes to Benny Johnson. Go do some research on that. Where are the Turning Point USA boys, Benny and Jack, when it comes to Tucker? Why are they not calling Tucker out? They're not, are they? Are they calling out and condemning Tucker Carlson? Are they calling out and condemning Candace Owen and Joe Kent? Wow. I told you guys several months ago that if, or maybe I should say a few months ago, I said that if Turning Point USA does not get their act together, they will end up being a detriment to the country. Well, again, we've been trying to tell folks to look out for some of these people because they seem to be elevated. I don't know who elevates them, but whenever they just go crazy with 1 million+ followers out of nowhere, and the good guys are being shadow banned. I saw my buddy David Limbaugh, who I was texting with the other day. I saw David, Rush's brother, was asking that. What's the deal with X? What is the deal with this algorithm in X? You gain followers and then you lose a bunch of them. It's like the conservative guys, the real conservative guys, have a hard time really going and growing. But the guys pushing all the crazy talk get millions of followers with no problem. Now, there are some folks out there that have a lot of followers, but what they say is that when they put something out, it hardly gets any views. You're hearing that, aren't you guys? They got all these followers, but they don't get any impressions. Right? Yep. I'm only telling you what I hear and see from guys on social media because I don't spend time very rarely do I comment. If there's any commenting going on social media, 99.9% chance it is not me. It is someone in the control room doing it on my behalf. Because I think, frankly, X is great for collecting news. If you pick the right people to follow and the right news agencies and the right citizen journalist, I find X to be a great platform for gathering news and gathering it in real time. And I think Elon Musk has done a great service, I have to tell you, in that regard. I mean, I've been doing this a long time, as you guys know, 36 years, and professional broadcaster since 1995. And I'm telling you, the thought of the ability to monitor real-time world events in real time at your fingertips. No satellites involved, no expensive satellites. You see, when we were coming up, everything was pretty much done on satellites, and that was expensive. Satellites, satellite time, the receivers, very, very expensive. And now to think you can have a reporter on the ground in Israel, we have no satellite involved. We use today's technology. Then the same thing is with X. It's amazing. And Elon's done a great favor to us, and I think he's helped to advance Bible prophecy, or the stage setting for Bible prophecy, in more ways than he knows. And that would be a really fun conversation to have with Elon. Elon, are you aware of the fact that you're setting the stage for Bible prophecy to be fulfilled? I wonder what he would say. I would love to ask President Trump that. President Trump, are you aware that you, maybe like very few presidents in world history, are setting the stage for Bible prophecy to be fulfilled? President Trump likes to be separated from everyone else. He wants to be unique and different, right? He wants to be his own man. Nothing wrong with that. And he likes to set the bar high and do things very few people have ever done. Nothing wrong with that per se. And I wonder how he would take a question that says, you know, there are very few presidents that have set the stage for Bible prophecy to be fulfilled like you have. You probably are the most unique president when it comes to that. Are you aware of how God is allowing you to set the stage for events that were prophesied thousands of years to come to pass? I wonder what he would say. I wonder what Elon would say to that. Because I think they are. Who would have thought, though, a few years ago, we would be warning that the so-called America First or MAGA movement have been infiltrated by people that eventually will start regurgitating the propaganda of the Islamist, the Marxist, Iran, Hamas, the CCP. Well, that's apparently where we're at today. By the way, I did see, the boys showed me, where last night apparently, or was it yesterday on radio or somewhere, I said, when it comes to what Donald Trump's doing in the Middle East with IMEC, India, Middle East, Europe Economic Corridor, my response was, go, Donald, go. Why? Because I think it's setting the stage for Bible prophecy to be fulfilled, and I'm ready to go to I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go to glory. I'm ready to get my assignment in the millennial kingdom. I can't wait. I'm not kidding you, folks. This is not joking. This is not being hyperbolic or sarcastic. I can't wait to find out what I'm going to get to do during the millennial kingdom. I'm praying that I have done enough when it comes to not justification, salvation, but sanctification and faithfulness to get a great job, a great career. Isn't that interesting? A lot of people talk about and think about their career as a young person when they're in school and the career they want to do, the job they want to hold. And they look forward and think about one day, after all my education or training, maybe mentorship, maybe one day I can do X, Y, and Z. Well, that's how I think we as Christians today should be thinking about the future. And you know, the sad thing is, I don't think a lot of Christians think about the future beyond the grave. I think they think a lot about this life, but very little about the next. Now, I would need to take a poll or a survey. I would venture to guess that the mature Christians maybe do that more. And certainly as they get older, I think that's just a matter of aging and maturity and realizing you've lived, so most of your life is behind you. But I don't think many Christians in America, maybe overseas where there's massive persecution, I bet they think about it. But not many Christians in America probably think about what life will be like beyond death in the natural world. And what will my job be? How many of you in this audience today can say, and I'd love for you to email me, Brannon@worldviewtube.com, Brannon, Brannon, Brannon@worldviewtube.com, or Logan, maybe watch some of the comments on the social media platforms and streaming platforms. I would love to know, have any of you thought about the job that you will be assigned to, let's just say during the millennial kingdom, and the nations that will need to be administrated and overseen during that millennial kingdom? Have you thought about that? Because I'm very aware of that. And maybe because I've spent more time now studying, obviously, the book of Revelation, the book of Daniel. And that's one reason why I say, go, Donald, go. when it comes to what he's doing in the Middle East, because I realize the stage setting and what it means for the timetable and what it is I'm really looking forward to. Remember when you were a child, how excited you would get for Christmas morning? For Christmas morning. And maybe you got the Sears and Roebuck or JCPenney's or Montgomery Ward's catalog. Remember how those used to smell, by the way? Remember how the catalog used to smell? Our young people today have no idea. They missed out on the smell of those full color printed catalogs. Remember how they used to smell as a kid? And the pages, how they would turn? And you would fold over corners in the toy section of the catalog. And you're thinking about Christmas, and you might start doing this come October, certainly early November, as those were showing up at your house. And you're excited about Christmas morning, just so excited, as only a child can be, right? And what would be under the tree, what you'd be unwrapping, what you would be receiving. Are we excited as mature Christians about the gifts we will receive? The rewards we will receive, and those rewards will be tied directly to our responsibilities. Now, again, maybe it's because I've been spending so much time studying the book of Revelation, the book of Daniel. I'm more aware of this now in the last 2-3 years than I have ever been. And it's because of that anticipation, I'm getting more and more anxious to go. I hope you are the same way. And that's why I say, go, Donald, go, when it comes to IMEC and these other things. I was thinking maybe we should have some shirts printed. I don't know. People can comment. Make Bible prophecy great again. Because that's what Donald's doing. Do you know that our social media pages and YouTube and streaming bandwidth and all this is, we keep hitting records. Every week they say, well, that's the largest streaming numbers we've had so far. And then they tell me that again the next week. They did that yesterday. These are the biggest numbers we've seen. Well, they'll turn around, Lord willing, and tell me that next week. Well, great. Why is it going up? And particularly it's when we talk Bible prophecy. Donald Trump making Bible prophecy great again. Or maybe Donald Trump making Bible prophecy popular again. Last night we talked about, can you take this, Logan? Someone keeps blowing up my phone from this area code. Last night we talked about, I know what it is, Logan. You're going to need this. Thank you. What's I going to say? Last night I talked about the trailer for the late, great Planet Earth. 1978 was in the theaters with Hal Lindsey. I was 9 years old. My parents took me to see it. I remember distinctly going to see it. And Bible prophecy was taking off. My mother told me several times, even recently, about going to the Pentagon, because we're living in Northern Virginia outside of D.C., going to the Pentagon to hear Hal Lindsey speak. And she said this room, this room where they had a stage and theater-style seating was packed. And it was packed with some pretty high-level military people to hear Hal Lindsey. See, Bible prophecy was very popular. Donald Trump making Bible prophecy popular again. We'll be back with Trevor Loudon.
Consumers often ask, what should I expect when I take the Bella Grace elixir? And the answer's varied. It really depends on what your health and wellness needs are. I would consider this as your foundational core product for a whole range of health and wellness issues. Let me give you a few examples. If you're a little bit older and you have some joint health issues, some problems with mobility and discomfort, the elixir is going to be your best friend. If you have some skin health issues, wrinkles, hydration, aging, all of those elements are going to be benefited from the elixir, including age spots. Now, if you're in a younger demographic, maybe visual health is where you need some assistance. Eye fatigue, dry eyes, all of those are going to be benefited by the elixir. It's a core product because it benefits so many.
Let's go to Trevor Loudon and let's talk about MAGA communism. I think Tucker Carlson, in my opinion, has fully revealed now MAGA communism. and he joins us. And of course, this is the Trevor Loudon, by the way, that was warning about Tulsi, is it Tulsi or Tulsi? Tulsi Gabbard, T-U-L-S-I, warning about Tulsi Gabbard. Long before she was in the position she was in, or is in, when she was, I think, a congresswoman, he was warning about her in his book. And we had the chance to do the first interview with him for a few days when that was a series of books, actually, on members of the House of Representatives and their ties back to the Students for Democratic Association, SDS, or SDA, and Students for Democratic Socialism, all these different groups. And he was warning about some of these people penetrating MAGA. And boy, he got a lot of people criticizing him for that. Well, he was right. And he joins us now because we have a lot of clips to play. Trevor, welcome back to the broadcast. Thanks for being with us.
Always a pleasure, Brandon. Thanks for having me on.
Great to have you with us. All right. So I think Tucker Carlson has revealed MAGA communism. Have you been hearing any of these clips by Tucker Carlson, Trevor? Have you heard them, or is this going to be the first time you hear some of these?
I haven't heard them, but I've heard that he's been talking about how America should voluntarily allow China to take control of the Middle East, which is pure MAGA communism, which is pure Duginism. That is pure Russian, it's a pure Russian psyop.
Well, he actually did say that. Let's see. I have so many clips open by Tucker. Let's see which one should we play first. Tucker Carlson. No, that's not it. The last one was the China one right here. All right, here we go. Here's the China one. I think this is it. Here we go.
You are critical of the government of Israel. Do you believe in Israel's right to exist? Would you consider yourself a Zionist in that narrow definition?
What does that mean, a right to exist?
The existence of the political state of Israel as
but
it
has
existed,
a right. What does that mean?
that you think it should continue in its existence as a state right now. So you do not agree with Iran, for example.
Well, let me just ask, since you asked me the question, it's fair for me to get you to define the term so I can answer it. You've asked two questions. The first was, do you believe Israel has a right to exist? And the second question was, do you believe Israel should continue to go on as a nation state? And those are very different questions. So I often hear the phrase...
Having been created as a political entity in 1948,
does it have a right to exist? Is that what you're asking?
I don't want to get hung up on the right. Should it continue to exist? That's how I define narrowly Zionism.
Because the phrase you used was devised by the Israeli government. Of course, does it have a right to exist? And so my question to you would be, what does that mean?
Why don't you answer
Wow, what is the word? It depends on what the word is means. That sounds like Bill Clinton. That's not the clip we're looking for, but we did find it. But that sounds like Bill Clinton. I mean, this is the same guy, by the way, who asked Huckabee a few weeks ago if Israel has a right to the land. So why is he all of a sudden, when the chairs are changed and he's the one being interviewed and asked the question, it seems to me he's already put that out into the public space.
Because in line with Islamic and communist policy, Tucker Carlson believes that Israel should be destroyed. But he doesn't quite want to say that. He's not quite that bold. But his whole demeanor, it gives it away. But his continual lies and propaganda against Israel tells you that he doesn't believe in Israel as it's currently constituted, and he doesn't believe that Israel should exist. But so I think he's held those views for a long time. I don't think these are new views, but since he's been released from Fox News, I think he's now and is increasingly working with the Russians and Qatari propagandists. I think his true views and his true propaganda points of view are coming out. Yeah, he absolutely, in my opinion, does not believe Israel has the right to exist. Otherwise, he would just come out and say so. You or I would we not?
Why are we asking if Israel has a right to exist? Why don't we ask if Iran has a right to exist? If Cuba has a right to exist?
Palestine or Cuba. Yeah, exactly. Look, Tucker has made it very, very clear that he's an enemy of Israel. He lies continuously. He repeats Hamas propaganda, Russian propaganda, Qatari propaganda about Israel. There is very little he says about Israel that's actually true. And he's very malicious. He's got a very deep malice against Israel for a number of reasons, I believe. So, yeah, that was a good psychological moment right there. Now, if he believed Israel was just a normal country like New Zealand or Vanuatu or Chile, he wouldn't have gone on some silly rant like that. He wouldn't have evaded it. He could have said, yes, it's a sovereign country. It has a right to exist. I would say that. You would say that. Most people would say that. But he is in the grip of some very evil forces, and he cannot fully reveal himself yet.
And what I would say is it has a right to exist probably, well, I wouldn't say probably. I think it has a right to exist more than any country on the planet, because its boundaries were laid out by God. Now, people confuse the boundaries of Genesis 15 with what was given and promised to Moses. And they went and they occupied the land, and they do today. And of course, he wanted to make a big deal with Huckabee about, well, go to read Genesis 15. They should be taking over a bunch of the Middle East. And Huckabee said, well, something to the fact that, yeah, they could if they wanted, I guess, or something like that. Of course, Tucker doesn't understand Genesis 15 won't be fulfilled until there is a fulfillment. The Abrahamic covenant will not be fulfilled until the Jewish people obey aspects of the Mosaic covenant, which won't happen until the millennial kingdom, and they'll receive it. So he doesn't understand all these things, and he apparently doesn't want to understand these things, because if he did, he could interview me, he could interview Andy Woods, he could interview a whole host of people, right? But he doesn't. So interesting that the Soviet Union really were the ones propping up Yasser Arafat and the PLO. Obviously, the Soviet Union was very anti-nation state of Israel, and they were propping up Yasser Arafat. Is Tucker Carlson the new Yasser Arafat? Maybe somebody could ask Grok to make me a picture of Tucker Carlson as the new Yasser Arafat, because I think maybe Tucker's the new Yasser Arafat.
Well, he is in many ways, because he is parroting Russian propaganda. It's no accident. Tucker took completely the Russian line over the Ukraine war, says, I'm rooting for Russia. Goes to Russia, interviews Alexander Dugin, one of the most evil men on the planet, an actual occultist who believes in MAGA communism and the destruction of America and Europe, and makes him look like Grandpa Walton. He interviewed Sergei Lavrov, the Russian foreign minister, and allowed him to lie and lie and lie without one challenge, and did the same to Vladimir Putin. He is acting, whether he fully understands it or not, as an agent of the Russian state, and is just pushing Russian propaganda full on at the American people to divide the conservative movement, to ensure the MAGA agenda is ended. He is an enemy of MAGA, not a friend. He's an enemy of America. He's a friend of America's enemies. I don't think it could be any more plain. And he should be deeply investigated, as we are hearing that the FBI is looking at his links to Iran now. He should be very much investigated as to those ties.
Here's the Tucker Carlson clip related to China. Here we go.
We can no longer be the sole author of terms, of commerce, of anything. We have to share power.
With China?
Of course, because of their scale.
We have to share power with China. That's like saying your body needs to share power with cancer. Let's share, my body needs to share a little space with cancer. That, it's just the right thing to do. No,
it's a very
wasn't
good
it
analogy,
the
Brandon.
pastor that's been 14 years in a Romanian communist prison? Richard Wurmbrand said, Christianity and communism cannot reside together any more than the healthy body and tuberculosis. But here's Tucker.
Yeah. Well, see, this is Duginism. This is Kurdish Yavin. This is Eurasianism. This is a Russian psyop telling American conservatives that we should voluntarily divide the world into three major spheres of influence. The Russian sphere, they get Europe and the Middle East. The Chinese sphere, they get the Far East and probably Australia and New Zealand. And America gets to live happily ever after in the Western Hemisphere. This is, all these Eurasianists who follow this Russian psyop never ask the logical question. If America surrenders its number one spot, what is to stop number two and number three, Russia and China combining to take us out, then take our share as well? Because that's exactly what this is all about. They never go to the next step. So Russia's going to just be satisfied with Europe. China's just going to be satisfied with the Far East, and they're going to let us, the richest, most prosperous people in the world, they're going to let us live in peace and harmony and prosperity forever when they've spent most of the last century trying to destroy us. And now we give away Europe, we give away our allies in Asia, and they're going to let us survive. This is beyond delusional. They are going to combine and destroy us. This is just a Russian propaganda scheme to get Western conservatives to surrender our sovereignty and our lives to the Russians and the Chinese. Can I make it any plainer, Brandon?
No, you cannot. And here is Tucker interviewing I think this guy's a CCP guy. He wants to go as a professor, but I think he's actually a high school teacher. Jiang, I don't know if I'm saying his name right. I don't know. But here he is. Listen. Keep your finger on the dump button there at VCY.
This guy's a Duganite. He's a
Duganite. All right. Keep your finger on the dump button there. I think we vetted all these. I hope we did.
So what I would do is basically sit down everyone, okay, including Russia, China, Iran, and say, it's time for a new world order where we are partners in this relationship. Right? Before America was the hegemon, before the US dollar was the world reserve currency. But now what we want to do is open a dialogue where everyone is respected, where America is no longer the bully, but a willing partner in creating a new economic order that benefits everyone and not just a few.
I think that's the wisest possible advice and probably the only path that preserves civilization. But the one country standing in the way of that is Israel.
Oh yeah, Israel, of course, because the Jews, they're the source of all suffering and oppression, along with the Christians. Yeah. This guy is, is it okay to call him a traitor? I mean, I think this guy is a traitor. Tucker Carlson is turning out to perhaps be one of the most dangerous people in the country. But notice again, this what I think is a Chinese mouthpiece is saying that America is the bully. This is China, okay? China that enslaved, under communism, has enslaved how many people, not only in their country, but the other countries they have helped along the way to conquer with communism. And how many people have died under communism? How many people did die indeed under Mao? How many underground church pastors are in prison as we speak? And this guy wants to talk about America as a bully? Again, as though we can somehow have a new world order where we share power? Trevor will respond in more clips when we come back. Don't go away.
News is moving faster than ever, and so are we. Worldview Tube brings you 24/7 live stream coverage and now real-time alerts when it matters most. Once you have the Worldview Tube app installed, exit the app and navigate your way to Settings. In Settings, locate the tab labeled Notifications. Select the Notifications tab. Scroll down until you locate the Worldview Tube app icon. Select the tab, and here you can turn on and customize your notification experience for the Worldview Tube app. News doesn't wait, and neither should you. Turn on push notifications to stay informed. Every headline as it happens.
You're watching Worldview 2, built on the 35 years of Worldview.
Can we get that article fixed, Logan?
Research, high-profile interviews, and the radio and television broadcasts of Brannon House.
All right, welcome back. Glad you're with us. Worldview Radio, our website, worldviewradio.com. And you'll find all of our programming from last night at worldviewtube.com. Now, Tucker just agreed with this Chinese guy who seems to be a mouthpiece for the CCP that America is a bunch of bullies and that the global superpower is China and Russia, and the American government needs to go into dialogue with China and Russia. Let me tell you something. We've done a lot of programming over the years about why you never find collaboration and with the communists. You don't find a way to so-called collaborate with them. None. As such a dangerous come along, is it not, Trevor? Oh, did we lose Trevor? All right, let's get him reconnected. It is the dangerous come along of communism. Can't we? It's kind of the Rodney King. Can't we all get along? Can't we just all get along? And the goal is to make you seem as though you're threatened by conversation. You're threatened by dialogue. You're threatened by international group consensus. And somehow you are a coward, or you don't believe in your convictions enough to have an adult conversation. That's the come along. And when you don't, then you are perceived as being intolerant, arrogant, rigid. This was the F scale test. The F stood for fascism. This was the F scale test from the book 1950, Adorno. He wrote a book called, it'll come to me in a moment. It's in my documentaries and books. He wrote a book on the need to evaluate people on his F scale. And if you were someone that said there are certain things that are not open for discussion, this is not open for conversation. This is not open for discussion. Why would someone say that? Because their convictions are so deep and what is being proposed is so unacceptable, it is a waste of time to even discuss it. And if you were one of those people, you were on the F scale, fascist. And isn't that what conservatives are called today? Isn't that what true constitutionalists are called today? This is the come along. Well, you need to talk. You need a dialogue. Do we get Trevor back? All right. He's going right to voicemail. My guess is his computer died. Look up the book by Adorno. Something personality, wasn't it? 1950. Why am I having a senior moment? 1950, Adorno of the Frankfurt School. Authoritarian personality. Thank you. That was the book. It's the same mantra today in 2026. So there he is, Tucker. Now, let's go to another clip. Hopefully we can get Trevor back. Here he is. Listen now, Tucker. Oh, I really wanted Trevor to hear this one. Here is Tucker Carlson talking about the collective getting together to fight the banks. Now, I'm not a fan of the big banks. I'm not a fan of bankers and the international banking order. I wonder if he thinks the Jews are running the banking world. I don't know. Is there a dog whistle in here? I'm not a fan of a bunch of the international bankers, but I am a fan of free enterprise. And if you want to go and get a bank account, get a loan, get a credit card, and use credit to expand your business, or some people, obviously today, we use credit cards. I don't know about you, but I use them and I pay them off every month. The credit card companies apparently probably don't like me very much because I use the credit card and pay it off every month. I don't want to pay interest. I guess they make their money on the service fees for the merchants that use it. But that's a service. because who walks around with cash anymore? We went somewhere not too long ago to a rodeo. We went to a rodeo here in the Mid-South. I pulled some cash out of my wallet to buy my wife a bottle of water and popcorn. And the lady said, "We don't take cash." Huh. I bet a bunch of you have run into that. In fact, they even have signs now, no cash. So you're kind of forced to go with a credit card or a debit card. And that's a service, and a workman's worthy of his hire, and these free market companies can do that. And I'm not going to besmirch them for offering a service and having a profit to pay their people that work for these companies. There is a point of which it's kind of ridiculous, some of the interest rates, but you don't have to do business with those kind of card companies and banks. I guess you can shop around. But now Tucker is calling for a collective action against these banks and credit card companies. Doesn't he sound like a socialist? Listen.
It's not. All I'm saying is let's treat the people who run the banks, the people who are getting rich from usury, like the criminals they are, and make them suffer, because that's totally fair. If you exploit and destroy people, you're not a good person, and we should just say that. And I think we should start by getting collective action. Everybody who's deep in credit card debt, I don't care what your race, it would be actually a way to unify the country. We're just going to have this month, we're all getting together, and we're not going to pay our credit card bill.
Wow. We're all going to get together and not pay our credit card bill because there's usuries in these credit cards and these banks. Again, Trevor, I wonder if that's a dog whistle, because don't you know it's the Jews that run the banking world?
Look, absolutely. Look, the Chinese chap that he interviewed before, you want to hear him going on about the Jewish secret societies. You listen to that man, he hates Jews. So Tucker had him on. And this is a man who believes in the Jewish conspiracy and all this kind of thing, and is a Duganite. The Duganites believe in this kind of stuff, or promote this kind of stuff. So Tucker is sounding like a little communist because Russia is still effectively run by communists, and they determine the propaganda line that he echoes. So he will say anything, no matter how communistic, because he is clearly in their system in some way or another. He's either voluntarily in it, or he's stupidly, naively in it, or he's been compromised into it. One way or another, he is in the Russian propaganda system, and the Qatari propaganda system, and the Iranian and the Chinese as well, but primarily the Russian. So look, he's talking like some 70s leftist. He's talking like he's an SDS. You know, that's what he's talking like. But he's still, people say he's a conservative.
Yeah. Some people say he's conservative, and good old good old Trevor just froze up again. Let me play another clip, because he's also working not only with the communist, he's also working with the Islamist, the red-green axis of Islam. Here is what he said. Here's what Tucker said about Islam. Here we go.
I travel so much that I see it. There's not a single Western city that's thriving. And they're all degrading in exactly the same way.
Is a lot of it just a moral decay, or is it actually true from everything?
It's a lot of things, but it's self-hatred. Every city.
Crazy.
Every European city, every American city. It's just why people lose their will to live, their will to pass on their culture, their values, their religion to their children, their will to have children. It's all gone. I mean, it's not gone with everybody, but I mean, in the cities, you really see it. It's like the people who built this are long gone, and their descendants have fled, and they don't care enough to keep it going. There's just a lack of self-respect that is disgusting to me, and I have contempt for it. It doesn't bother me to be hated. What really bothers me is when people hate themselves. If you hate if you hate yourself, how are you going to treat me?
That's correct.
Oh man, I don't like it. So I notice it because I travel outside the Western world, the white world. I'll just be honest, the white world. I travel a lot in the Middle East. It's amazing. It's amazing. I'm not Muslim, obviously. In fact, I'm like a Christian, flat out Christian. And my ancestors are from Europe. And so I have nothing in common on that level with the Gulf. But you go to the Gulf, and it's incredible to be in a place that has pride in itself, that believes in its religion and culture, that thinks we're onto something. And this is great. Look at what we're doing. We're really proud of this. Those people are happy. They're welcoming of others. They're tolerant of diversity. Like we say, tolerant of diversity. There's none of that here. Are you kidding?
Wait a minute. Saudi Arabia, they're so tolerant. Did you know they have one of the biggest thriving evangelical, dispensational, Bible-teaching churches in the world in Saudi Arabia? Did you know that? They do not. But Tucker, Trevor, says they're so tolerant. These Sharia nations are so tolerant.
See, he's using the argument that the communists used to use and the Nazis used to use. Why were people attracted to communism and Nazism? Because they're so strong, because they believe in themselves. Yes, they're totalitarian. And yes, they can produce great wealth, like the Chinese Communist parties produce great wealth, mainly on American money, though, by the way. And so he is admiring some of the most evil and anti-freedom countries in the world and comparing them to ours. You know, we know America has its faults, but your liberty, your religious freedom is protected in America like it is in nowhere else on the planet. You know, it was a Polish politician said to the Saudis, we will allow a mosque in Warsaw when you allow a cathedral in Mecca. Well, you know, that's not going to happen, don't you? And they're so certain about their beliefs, they're so confident that they allow no competition. They do not allow Hindus or Christians or anyone else to proselytize their people. In fact, will kill them if they attempt to do so. That's not a society to admire. That's a society to pity, that is so weak and so lacking confidence in its own so-called truth that it will not allow any competition. Whatever you can say about America, you can always say America has always allowed competing beliefs. It never outlawed the Communist Party. It allowed any religion to function here, no matter how crazy. And as long as they didn't break the laws, they were free to function. That's a country I admire, a country that's so strong in its beliefs and so confident in its beliefs that it can allow competition. The communists can't do that. The Islamists can't do that. So why does Tucker Carlson suck up to them? Because he's in their grip. That's why.
Should Tucker Carlson be arrested?
I think he should be investigated, absolutely. We know he's taking Qatari money. He talks about, is he registered under the Foreign Agents Registration Act? We know he's possibly he's been investigated for leaking to the Iranians, an enemy nation that we're at war with. You know, that if that was found to be true, that could be construed as treason. We know that he has echoed Russian propaganda and acted as a surrogate for Russian propagandists for many years. Is he registered as a Russian agent under the Foreign Agents Registration Act? So I think he absolutely should be investigated for his ties to Qatar, to Russia and Iran. From a bare minimum.
And the investigation, if proven to be what you say it is, he obviously then should have his day in court, right?
He should be prosecuted and have his chance to defend himself. And if found guilty, should be sentenced to some pretty severe penalties. That's what I think.
You woke up with a sore throat and a low-grade fever. You know you are getting sick, so here's your choices. You can get sicker and miss work, try to see a doctor this week, or sit hours in a crowded waiting room at urgent care.
I have a smarter option for you. Open your medical emergency kit. Match your symptoms to doctor-recommended prescription in your booklet and take the right meds now and get well faster.
This is not a first aid kit. It's like having an urgent care in your home. It includes doctor-prescribed medications to treat over 39 medical issues like respiratory infections, strep throat, pneumonia, UTIs, and more.
No waiting to see the doctor and no standing in line at the pharmacy. It's right here.
Every home should have at least one medical emergency kit, and here's how to order.
Go to worldviewhealthcare.com. Your kit to treat dozens of common and serious illnesses is rushed to your door. worldviewhealthcare.com. That's worldviewhealthcare.com.
The emergency kit available at worldviewhealthcare.com. Make sure you don't have to go to urgent care. I got pneumonia. I didn't have to go. I took this last year. Stayed at home, went to bed. All right, I'm just screening a little of this to make sure everybody's language is clean. Boy, I got to go back on this. Okay, let's go to this. Here's Tucker interviewing, I don't know who this guy is. It's his yes man, sitting there shaking his head. Yeah, Tucker, you're wonderful. And Tucker has at his feet some kind of box. It's a red box. And it says, Jesus, friend of sinners. Well, this guy really loves to confuse people and tell you how much he's a Christian and likes Jesus. Or my question would be, which Jesus, Tucker? The cults, a lot of cults have a Jesus. Which Jesus? Is it the social justice Jesus? Is it the New Age Jesus? Which Jesus, Tucker? But he goes on now, after he has told us how, there's not any nation, there's nothing thriving in America, the Western culture, nothing thriving, but it is over there in the Islamic world. It's thriving over there. They're so tolerant over there. Yeah, they have so many churches, don't they, Tucker? Oh, it gets worse. I vetted some of this during the break. Listen, it gets even worse. Here we go.
We're really proud of this. Those people are happy. They're welcoming of others. They're tolerant of diversity. Like we always talk tolerant.
He's talking about the Islamists. Here we go. In the Islamic nations.
Diversity? There's none of that here. Are you kidding? All the whites, we love black people. Then they run and move to Bozeman because there are no black people.
Absolutely. Send their kid to the...
They hate diversity.
Okay, first, so now Americans are all a bunch of racists who don't want to be around black people, so they run to Bozeman, Idaho. I don't know if Tucker's looked around lately, but a lot of the leading conservatives in America, they're in interracial marriages. And I don't like the word interracial because there's only one race, the human race. But their wives are from Asia. Their wives are from India. There are a lot of people today that are in the conservative movement, in the Christian community, that have biracial children. We are more diverse today in America than we have ever been. And I know that because I have a son-in-law that is a black American. I have a granddaughter that is biracial. Have I had one person be unkind when I'm with them in public or out with them? No, to the contrary. They walk up and they go on and on about my granddaughter and how beautiful she is and her beautiful tan, her complexion. This is just the most adorable child. This goes on and on and on. And that we've been around it and watched it. Now, one person has walked up and said, I don't know about this whole interracial marriage thing. No. We are living in the most racially diverse time in America of tolerance when it comes to interracial marriage, if you will, and I hate that word. Because people are realizing it's skin pigmentation. We're of one blood. Everything he is saying is a lie. And I know it because of my own personal situation with my family, Trevor.
Look, the reports, credible reports that in the Gulf states, there are still black slaves being held in the Gulf states. Slavery still exists as an institution there. I have personally encountered Arabic racism, total racism against blacks. I've seen it myself. Islam is a pretty, Islam as it exists in the Gulf states is pretty darn prejudiced against people who aren't of their ilk. They're the same as anyone else. There's prejudice anywhere. And Islam is one of the least tolerant religions in the world. And other religions will not tolerate you. They don't like you, but they don't go out and actively try and kill you. Islam believes that it is the Allah's truth, that all non-Muslims are trespassers on Allah's world, And if they do not convert or pay tax, they can be killed. You tell me any other religion that believes that.
Right. And by the way, Trevor, before we run out of time with VCUI, I want you and them to hear the rest of this.
Tucker defends this. Why would he defend this?
Why would he?
Because he's gone to the dark side.
It's gotten worse. It even gets worse. Listen to this before we run out of time with VCY.
Hate it.
And our version of it isn't working at all. At all. So, but you go to a country like Japan or the Emirates or Qatar or Saudi Arabia, and you see that when people are self-confident, when they're really pleased with what they're doing and they believe that their system is the right system, that self-confidence results in a kind of welcoming attitude.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll be sitting at dinner in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, and you'll say, you know, I'm really kind of pro-Jesus, like I'm a Christian. They'll be like, oh, that's so great.
And they don't have the same.
Well, they mean it.
And they don't have the same belief.
No, they're Muslims.
They're Muslims.
It's a country governed by Sharia law.
Right.
I mean, and they're like, that's great.
Good for you. Yeah.
It's great. And you notice like in ISIS or Al-Qaeda or like the Muslim extremists, they're all from like collapsed, pathetic societies dominated by colonial powers. They've been degraded.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why they're so angry.
Oh, wow. So Islam and terrorism is now due to colonial powers.
Look, Osama bin Laden was from one of the richest families in the world. You know, this is the communist argument. This is the terrorism only exists because of poverty and oppression, and that's America's fault. That's the Russian Marxist argument that Tucker just made. You know, many of the Islamic leaders come from very wealthy families. Many of the terrorist leaders come from very wealthy families, just like many of the communist leaders came from some of the wealthiest families of their era, of their time. Mao Zedong, you know, Fidel Castro. These people came from rich backgrounds. And so he's just echoing another communist lie. He is just a chronic liar. But why do his lies always line up with what Russia and Iran and Qatar want? Why is he linked to those countries? Why does he propagandize for those countries? What hold do they have over him? That's what needs to be investigated.
All right, Trevor Loudon, hold right there. I wish he would interview you, Trevor. I really wish he would interview you, Trevor. But
Fat chance of that happening.
Yeah, he's too, you know, like I said before, he won't come on my program and debate me. He'd be crying like a little girl in the corner. TrevorLoudon.com. He'd do the same with you. TrevorLoudon.com. TrevorLoudon.com. Stay right there, Trevor, for a few minutes, if you would, please. Be sure to stay tuned for Crosstalk with Jim Schneider, America's original Christian talk program since the 1970s on over 100 outlets nationwide. VCY.org. Thanks for listening. Take care. And we're back with you here on WROS and which is in Jacksonville, Florida, and you here at Worldview Tube. Trevor, a few more minutes with you, my friend. Here's a little bit more of that conversation that he was saying about Sharia and how great Sharia is and how tolerant the Muslim nations are, and that really Islam and terrorism is a result of colonialism.
Mm-hmm. Right? So there's something about being degraded that turns you into a violent nutcase extremist. You're seeing a lot of violent nutcase extremists in our country. Not surprising, because the country's being degraded.
Correct.
So in a country with self-confidence, people are tolerant and open-minded and happy. And in a country where people are told to hate themselves, they start to hate others. Duh. This is all like very obvious, but I only know that because I've traveled a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I am naturally open-minded. Mm-hmm. Like, just because you don't do it my way doesn't mean it's bad. Like, I really feel that way. It's where they're into things that I'm not into, like, I don't know, polygamy or Islam. And I can sort of look at it and be like, no one's forcing this on me. I'm not mad at you for being a polygamist. I think it's really hard. But whatever, leaving that aside, but I can go to a place like that and I don't feel like I need to judge everybody on their local customs. I just don't feel that need. But in the process of doing that, like you get perspective on your own society. And the core problem is a loss of faith in our people, in our values, in our religion. Just don't believe anything. I don't care what you tell me. Like, I'm noticing that New York City has people shitting on the sidewalk or having sex in ATM vestibules, and people are dying of drug ODs on the street and their carjackings. You're telling me it's thriving. I was just there. It's not.
It's not
I don't
thriving.
care what stats.
Well, wait a minute. But who's running New York City? It's a Marxist Islamist, Tucker.
Who destroyed our faith in the American system?
The communists.
And who pushed them? The Russians and the Chinese. So why is now Tucker pushing Russian and Chinese propaganda? You know, it's like the Chinese, they gave us Black Lives Matter. And then when the Chinese met with Secretary of State Blinken, they criticized America because of the need for Black Lives Matter. You know, they do this all. It was the Russians, the Soviets, that gave us the gay movement through Harry Hay. It was a communist movement. They gave us wokeism. This naturally disgusts a lot of people. It causes a lot of chaos. It causes social breakdown and dislocation as it was intended to. So who's going to fix it? The Russians are. Who tells us this? Tucker Carlson does. You know, they gave us these problems, then they criticize them for the results. Yeah, in America a lot of Americans have a lack of confidence in their country now because of 50 years of Russian propaganda pumped through the Soviet propaganda, pumped through the education system and the media. And now Tucker's going and sucking up to the KGB that did it.
Let me ask you this. You and I have been warning about Tucker now for how many months? How long have we been warning about Tucker Carlson?
Oh, I've been talking about him for 4 or 5 years.
4 or 5 years. Well, all of a sudden I'm seeing people come up out of the tall grass and want to now disagree with Tucker and take on Tucker. Why is it that conservatives, some of them, are so lacking in courage? They sit in the tall grass until today, some of them, in the last 24, 48 hours. Now some of them are like, well, I really got to take on Tucker Carlson. I am so tired of these wimpy so-called conservatives, conservative Christians that wait until there's enough wind blowing in that direction that they're willing to put their sails up. Because they're afraid they might go against the group. And I may not be liked by Vinnie Johnson and Jack Posobiec and all these little girls. I need their respect. I need them to retweet my stuff. So they all wait until the movement is so overwhelmingly going the correct direction, and then they want to lift their flag. You know,
that's not a credit. It's not well, some people it's lack of discernment, some people, and like nobody, you know, Tucker Carlson was a conservative hero for a long time. And, you know, and I noticed his pro-Russian bent when the Ukraine war started. I really started to drill down on him. But it's the same with Tulsi Gabbard. You know,
well, I was just about to ask you about Tulsi.
Yeah.
I mean, you've been warning about her forever. And we're going to find out the same thing that you were warning about Tucker. We're going to find out what you were warning about her a long time ago, running around with SDA and SDS people, right?
Yeah, she's been working with the Marxists her entire life and is deeply in bed with the MAGA Communist movement. In very, very recent times, the MAGA Communist movement love Tulsi Gabbard and promote her at every single chance they get.
She's spoken at communist conferences, hasn't she?
Yes, she has. I was there at one when she spoke and addressed it. 3,000 commies eating out of her hand, saying basically the same thing she said at CPAC when she had 3,000 conservatives eating out of her hand, saying the same thing.
And I think she spoke at the Reagan dinner, of all things, right?
That's right. I thought that was so ironic. The most anti-Reagan person
by the way,
in the country.
Who's the little girl that runs CPAC? What's his name?
Matt
Schlapp. Talk about a little girl, in my opinion. Woo-hoo! Yeah.
Well, I'm not going to criticize Matt because I hardly know him, but, you know.
Well, you don't have to know Matt. Go look him up.
Yeah, well, look, you got their keynote speaker at CPAC right now is Steve Bannon, who is another one of these pro-Russian influencers. Of all the people they could have at CPAC, they got Steve Bannon. You know, Steve Bannon and Tulsi Gabbard, two of the most pro-Russian people in the country. This was a conference set up to promote the Reagan vision, the America vision, the constitutional vision, the anti-communist vision.
I sat on a panel with Phyllis Schlafly in the mid-'90s at CPAC on the platform. Tom DeWeese, myself, Phyllis Schlafly. That was when it was a pro-Reagan group. Now it's absolutely been destroyed. I wish we had more time. We're going to have to get you back. TrevorLoudon.com. By the way, what year did that book come out in which you were warning about Tulsi and you were in our studio?
2019, I think
2019. What was it called?
It's called White House Reds.
White House Reds. There you go.
Yeah, I had
Still
a whole
available.
chapter on Tulsi, but I've been talking about Tulsi since 2015.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Warning about her communist background.
Yep. MAGA Communism, folks. He's been warning you. TrevorLoudon.com. You find his books and his articles all there. Thank you, Trevor.
You're most welcome. Always
Right.
a pleasure, Brandon.
You too, my friends.
Thanks to the audience.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks to the audience. And thank you guys for supporting us so we can keep going on this. WorldviewFoundation.com. WorldviewFoundation.com. Take care.
You're watching Worldview 2, built on the 35 years of Worldview books, documentaries, research, high-profile interviews, and the radio and television.
Tonight on the Worldview Report, Iran has rejected President Trump's claim of productive talks, denying any dialogue with Washington and insisting only force will be understood. Iran and Hezbollah, they have launched a coordinated